Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamutire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtake. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, today we're starting new chapter, chapter 24, Worshipping Govardhan Hill, text number 1 onwards. Shri Shukvacha Bhagwan api tatraiva baladevena samhita apashyan nivasan gopan indra yag kritodhyama. Shukdev Goswami said, while staying in that very place with his brother Baladev, Lord Krishna happened to see the cowherd men busily arranging for a sacrifice to Indra. According to Srila Sridhar Swami and other acharyas, the word Tatra Ev in this verse indicates that Lord Krishna stayed in the village of the Brahmins, whose wives had satisfied him by their devotion. Thus he gave his mercy to those Brahmins as well as to their chaste wives, who had no one to associate with except their husbands. In that place, the cowherd men, headed by Lord Krishna's father, Nanda Maharaj, were somehow or other preparing an elaborate sacrifice to Lord Indra, and Lord Krishna reacted as follows. Tad abhigyo api bhagwan sarvatma sarvadarshana prashreya vanato aprichad vriddhananda purogama. Being the omniscient super soul, the Supreme Lord Krishna already understood the situation, yet he still humbly inquired from the elders, headed by his father, Nanda Maharaj. Lord Krishna was eager to enact his pastime of lifting Govardhan Hill and defeating the false pride of Indra, and thus he cleverly inquired from his father about the imminent sacrifice. Kathitam me pita koyam sambramo vopagataha kim phalam kasya vodesha kenva sadhyate makhan. Lord Krishna said, my dear father, kindly explain to me what this great endeavor of yours is all about. What is it meant to accomplish? If this is a ritual sacrifice, then for whose satisfaction is it intended, and by what means is it going to be executed? So Krishna was 7 years old when he performed this pastime. So for 7 years, every year this yagya used to happen, but he never asked this question before. But now he knew he had to smash the pride of Indra and establish the glories of Govardhan. So this was the right time for him to ask these questions. Etad bruhi mahan kamo mayam shushruve pitaha nahi gopyam hi sadhunam krityam sarvatmanam iha astyastva paradrishtinam amitro dasta vidvisham. Please tell me about it, O Father. I have a great desire to know and am ready to hear it in good faith. Certainly no secrets are to be kept by saintly personalities who see all others as equal to themselves, who have no conception of mine or another's, and who do not consider who is a friend, who is an enemy, and who is neutral. Lord Krishna's father might have thought that his son was a mere child and thus could not properly question the validity of a Vedic sacrifice. But the Lord's clever statement here would certainly have convinced Nanda and Sri Krishna that Sri Krishna was making a serious, not a whimsical inquiry, and that a serious answer should thus be given. So he's saying, no secrets are to be kept by saintly personalities. So you are a saintly person, so especially, and no conception of mine or others, you better tell me the secret. Why you who are you preparing the sacrifice for? Udasino arivadvarjya atmavat suhrid uchyate. One who is neutral may be avoided like an enemy, but a friend should be considered like one's own self. So he's saying, do not keep secrets from friends. And now I'm not your friend, I'm your son, little son, so you should tell me everything. Even if Nanda Maharaj did not see friends, enemies, and neutral parties as entirely equal, Lord Krishna, being Nanda Maharaj's son, was certainly a most trustworthy friend and should therefore not be left out of intimate discussions. In other words, Nanda Maharaj might have thought that as a householder he could not act on the highest saintly platform, and thus Lord Krishna furnished additional reasons why his father should trust him and reveal the entire purpose of the sacrifice. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, Nanda Maharaj stood silent, doubting his position of parental aloofness, since Garg Muni had predicted that his son would be equal to Narayan in his qualities, and the young boy had already conquered and killed many powerful demons. So Nanda Maharaj was like, I cannot keep any secrets from him, and he's not too little that he cannot understand, so I should tell him. Gyatva cha karmani jano ayam anuttishtati vidusha karma siddhi syad yatha na vidusho bhavet. When people in this world perform activities, sometimes they understand what they're doing and sometimes they don't. Those who know what they're doing achieve success in their work, whereas ignorant people do not. The Lord here informs his father that people should perform a particular ceremony or activity only after thoroughly understanding it through discussion with friends. We should not be blind followers of tradition. If a person doesn't even know what he's doing, how can he be successful in his work? This essentially is Lord's argument in this verse. Since Sri Krishna, as a young child of Nanda, would naturally be expected to show enthusiasm for his father's religious activities, it was the father's duty to give the son a thorough explanation of the ceremony. And of course, Krishna must be hinting to Nanda Maharaj that after you, I am the one who has to carry on with these traditions. So you should tell me what exactly why you're doing this, what ceremony is this, and why you're doing it. And also here in the shloka it says, one should know the tradition, why they are doing what they are doing, not just blindly do it. Just like Prabhupada told one story once, that in Bengal, many years ago, maybe a couple of generations back, there was a wedding in the family, girl's wedding, and so many things. There's so much of work during a day of wedding and before the day of wedding. So everybody was busy, and the girl who was getting married, she was with her mom, and they were doing so many things. And there was a cat in the house, in the village, and the cat was jumping around and making disturbance. So what the mother did, she told her servant that, okay, put a basket on this cat and let it be just quiet for a while we carry on with our so many rituals, ceremonies have to go on. So the girl was watching. And later on, girl got married, and she moved to now from village. She moved to Calcutta with her husband, and she also had a daughter. And when this girl who got married, now she's mother, and her daughter was getting married. So she told her husband, "Oh, we have a family tradition, and you have to go and get us a cat and a basket, and we have to keep the cat under the basket during this marriage. Otherwise, it's very inauspicious and this and that." There is no such tradition of keeping the cat under a basket, because nobody told that girl that there is no tradition. It just The cat was jumping around in her during her marriage, but she thought this is a tradition. So similarly, many so-called traditions go on, and nobody really knows what's the purpose behind them. There could be some that really there is some purpose, but many times it's like, oh, we just do it in our family. Why? There should be logic. There should be some purpose. So that is when the younger generation picks it up and takes it further if it is explained properly. Otherwise, even the right duties, younger generation say, oh, this is a superstition. It doesn't happen like that. Just like now for Shraddha ceremony, it has the younger generation, they just don't understand. They say, it is superstition. How can you say the forefathers come and they accept the prasada? This is all made up by these Brahmins, so-called Brahmins, and they want to make money. They want to live off happily. And also, on top of it, our movies, TV serials, they don't help either because they themselves don't know scriptures, dharma, and then when they make movies or TV serials, they're not going to propagate the right knowledge, right message. So most of the time we learn from TV serials and movies, and that's what we're going to learn. So the point is, we should learn our scriptures, we should learn our traditions, and give the right message, right knowledge to the children so that they can carry on. So that is also a reason Krishna is asking. Tatra tavat kriya yogo bhavatam kim vicharita atva lokika sanme prachita sadhu banyatam. Such being the case, this ritualistic endeavor of yours should be clearly explained to me. Is it a ceremony based on scriptural injunctions or simply a custom of ordinary society? Shri Nanduvacha, Parjanya Bhagavan Indro, Meghastasyaatma Murtaya, Te Abhivarshanti Bhutanam, Priyanam Jivanam Paya. Nand Maharaj replied, the great Lord Indra is the controller of the rain. The clouds are his personal representatives and they directly provide rainwater, which gives happiness and sustenance to all creatures. Without clear rainwater, the earth could not possibly provide food or drink for anyone, nor could there be cleanliness. Thus, it would be difficult to overestimate the value of rain. And Nand Maharaj said, because Indra is the controller of the rain, so we worship Indra. Tam tat vayam anyacha varmucham patimishwaram dravyas tadretasa siddhar yajante kritubhir naraha. Not only we, my dear son, but also many other men worship him, the Lord and Master of the rain-giving clouds. We offer him grain and other paraphernalia of worship produced through his own discharge in the form of rain. Nand Maharaj patiently tried to explain the facts of life to his young son, Shri Krishna, but in fact, Nanda and all of the residents of Vrindavan would learn an astonishing lesson as explained in this chapter. So Krishna was there. He is there to break the pride or smash the pride of Indra. But he is very patiently listening. Tache shenopa jivanti trivarga phal hetave punsam purushkaranam parjanya phalabhavana. By accepting the remnants of sacrifice performed to Indra, people sustain their lives and accomplish the threefold aims of religiosity, which are threefold aims of religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification. Thus, Lord Indra is the agent responsible for the fruitive success of industrious people. One might object that people sustain themselves by farming, industry, and so on. But as previously mentioned, all human and non-human endeavor depends on food and drink, which cannot be produced without ample rain. By the word Trivarga, Nanda further points out that the prosperity achieved through sacrifice for Indra is meant for merely for sense gratification, is not meant merely for sense gratification, but for religiosity and economic development also. Unless people are well fed, it is difficult for them to execute their duties. And without performance of duty, it's very difficult to be religious. So they all go hand in hand, dharma, artha, and kama. Yainam visarje dharmam paramparaya gatam naraha kama dvesha bhaya lobha savai napnoti shobhanam. This religious principle is based on sound tradition. Anyone who rejects it out of lust, enmity, fear, or greed will certainly fail to achieve good fortune. If a person neglects his religious duties because of lust, envy, fear, or greed, his life will never be brilliant or perfect. So in this regard, many, many traditions are there. Even in our own families, our own lives, we just do it. Oh, here Nanda Maharaj and other Gopas, they are performing this to please Indra. Even in the villages till today, whether they offer the first grains, first harvest to the temple, or whether it is Krishna deity in the temple, or Durga, or whichever deity is there, they still observe this. Also, it makes us more grateful that there is some authority above us, and by his mercy we are getting all that we are getting. Of course, our efforts are there, but the mercy is required. So when villagers do these ceremonies, they're not completely wrong, but here Krishna wanted to put or stress another point here. That was his point. Shri Shukvacha Vacho Nishamya Nandasya Tathanyesham Rajokasam Indraya Manyam Janyan Vitram Praha Keshavaha. Shukdev Goswami said, when Lord Keshav, Krishna, heard the statements of his father Nanda and other senior residents of Braj, he addressed his father as follows, to arouse anger in Lord Indra. So here Shukdev Goswami is calling Krishna as Keshav. So Keshav means, one meaning of Keshav is killer of Keshi demon. So he is a killer of Keshi demon, means he's also going to kill the pride of Indra. Srila Sridhar Swami explains that Lord Krishna's intention was not simply to insult the demigod, but rather to knock down the great mountain of false pride that had arisen within the Lord's tiny servant who was supposed to represent the Lord as Indra. By lifting Govardhan Hill, Lord Krishna would thus initiate a blissful annual festival called Govardhan Puja, and he would further enjoy the pleasant pastime of dwelling for several days beneath the hill with all his loving devotees. So in one pastime, Krishna achieves many, many purposes through one pastime. Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Karmana jayate jantu, karmaneva praliyate, sukham dukkham bhayam chemam, karmaneva bhipadyate. Lord Krishna said, it's by the force of karma that a living entity takes birth, and it is by karma alone that he meets his destruction. His happiness, distress, fear, and sense of security all arise as the effects of karma. Although he's not giving the right philosophy, but he will take the Brajvasis on the right platform. It's called Karma Mimansa philosophy. Lord Krishna minimized the importance of the demigods by speaking the philosophy known as Karmavad or Karma Mimansa, which basically is atheism and a belief in reincarnation. According to this philosophy, there are certain laws of nature that reward or punish us according to how we act. As you sow, so shall you reap. In a future life, one reaps the fruits of his present work, and this is the sum and substance of reality. Lord Krishna, being God himself, could hardly be a serious proponent of this mediocre philosophy. In the role of a young boy, he was simply teasing his pure devotees by preaching it. So what's wrong with this philosophy? We all say, oh, I'm getting the result of my karma whenever something good or bad. Well, when good happens, we don't say that. Mostly it is when something wrong goes in our life. Because we don't know what karma we had done when to get this wrong thing. So karma is there, but along with it, it's when and how much we are going to get the reaction of our karmas, where we are going to get the reactions, how we are going to get, we don't know. So that's all taken care of by higher authorities. It's not that I give some donation today and tomorrow I should expect that I'll give back lots of money. Not going to happen. Not according to my wish, my karmic reaction will come to me. It's not, doesn't work like that. So this karma mimansa philosophy, it's a philosophy, it's given in the scriptures. It's not the complete philosophy. Srila Jiva Goswami points out that Lord Krishna was thinking, why are these eternal associates of mine appearing as my father and other relatives and friends so caught up in this worship of Indra? Thus, although the Lord's main purpose was to take away the false pride of Indra, he also wanted to remind his eternal devotees that they need not divert their attention to other so-called gods. Since, in fact, his devotees were already living with the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Almighty Lord himself. So this, especially for the devotees, it's not necessary to worship the demigods. Asti chedvischa idishvarah kaschit falarupe anya karmanam kartaram bhajate sopi nahi akartuhu prabhurhi saha. Even if there is some supreme controller who awards all others the results of their activities, he must also depend upon a performer's engaging in activity. After all, there is no question of being the bestower of fruitive results unless fruitive activities have actually been performed. So again, he's saying, whoever gives the results, he gives the result based on our activity, not just partially he gives because he's partial. Again. So he's saying everything is based on our karma, but actually it's not true. Here Lord Krishna argues that if there is a supreme controller, he must depend on a performer of activity to reciprocate with and must therefore also be subject to the laws of karma, being obliged to award happiness and distress to conditioned souls according to the laws of good and evil. This superficial argument neglects the obvious point that the laws of nature that prescribe the good and bad results of pious and impious acts are themselves creations of the all-good Supreme Lord. Being the creator and sustainer of these laws, the Lord is not subject to them. Furthermore, the Lord is not independent on the work. Our Lord is not dependent on the work of the conditioned souls, since he is satisfied and complete within himself. Out of his all-merciful nature, he awards the results appropriate to our activities. that which we call destiny, fate, or karma is an elaborate and subtle system of rewards and punishments meant for gradually encouraging conditioned souls to evolve to the stage of perfect consciousness, which is the original constitutional nature. So, again, what karma, where, how much, and what are so many other intricate details, we don't know. Just like in the case of Ajamil, very, very sinful person, very sinful. We studied that. But when the Yamdutas came to take him away, Vishnu Dutas came right away. And they said, he's not your candidate. You cannot take him. And we studied how the Yamdutas went back to Yamaraj. Yamaraj told them, yes, if anybody has even once chanted the holy name of the Lord, he's not your candidate. Don't even go and touch him, ever. So, how this miscalculation happened? Because Ajamil had not chanted the holy name of the Lord as a holy name of the Lord. He had chanted because he was just calling his son, who was Narayan, who was named as Narayan. But regardless, he chanted the name of Narayan. That's it. So there are so many subtle laws. We don't know what happens there. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has so dexterously formulated and applied the laws of material nature governing punishment and reward for human behavior that the living being is discouraged from sin and encouraged towards goodness without suffering any significant interference with his free will as an eternal soul. So, but the problem is, he is discouraged from sin and encouraged toward goodness. But the problem is, when we are enjoying the good part of our previous karmas, it is difficult to make a differentiate between what is sin and what is not. Because we are enjoying. We think, if I'm enjoying, whatever I'm doing is right. But no. The results of our sinful activities and the pious activities both will be given later on. But what we are going through is a result of our previous activities. But again, which sin, when is it, the reaction of which sin or pious activity, when it's going to come in front? Nobody knows. We don't know. In contrast to the material nature, the Lord exhibits his essential nature in the spiritual world, where he reciprocates the eternal love of his pure devotees. Such loving affairs are based completely on the mutual freedom of the Lord and his devotees, not on a mechanical reciprocation of coinciding selfish interests. The Supreme Lord, assisted by his pure devotees, repeatedly offers the conditioned souls of this world the opportunity to give up the bizarre attempt at exploiting the material universe and go back to Godhead for an eternal life of bliss and knowledge. Considering all these points, the atheistic arguments given here by Lord Krishna in a playful mood are not to be taken seriously. Because this is not the ultimate philosophy. Ultimate philosophy is Sarva Dharman Paritejya Mam Ekam Sharanam Raja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshishyami Mahat. That's ultimate philosophy, not this. But this he is telling his Baba, Nanda Baba, and other cowherd men. You don't need to do all this. Kim Indrene Bhutanam Swaswa Karmanuvartinam Anishenanyatha Kartum Sabhava Vihitam Dranam. Living beings in this world are forced to experience the consequences of their own particular previous work. Since Lord Indra cannot in any way change the destiny of human beings, which is born of their own nature, why should people worship him? Lord Krishna's argument here is not a negation of free will. If one accepts the existence of karma as a result, as a system of laws, avoiding reactions for our previous activities, then we ourselves, according to our nature, will decide our future. So that's also, some people say, oh, you can make your own destiny and this and that. No, we can only perform our activities, that's all. Our happiness and distress in this life have already been educated and fixed according to our previous activities, and not even the demigods can change that. They must award us the prosperity or poverty, sickness or health, happiness or distress, due us by our previous work. However, we still retain the freedom to select a pious or impious mode of activity in this life, and the choice we make will determine our future suffering and enjoyment. So, to a certain extent, we cannot change the destiny, but again, destiny means whatever Krishna wants to give. He can change whatever he wants to. For example, if I was pious in my last life, in this life, the demigods may award me great material wealth, but I am free to spend my riches for good or for bad purposes, and my choice will determine my future life. Thus, although no one can change the karmic results due him in this life, everyone still retains his free will, by which he determines what his future situation will be. Lord Krishna's argument here is quite interesting. However, it neglects the overriding consideration that we are all eternal servants of God and must satisfy him by all that we do. So that's the most important statement. Rest everything, just like Prabhupada at one place he said, some devotee has shown his horoscope to an astrologer, and he said, oh Prabhupada, I have this Rahu Dasha in my horoscope and what to do, and that's why I'm going through so many troubles. Prabhupada said, just worship Krishna. If he wants, he can kick thousands of Rahus out of your horoscope. What's the big deal for him? With this one kick, he can kick out thousands of Rahus. So, yes, that is also true. Also, it is said that our lines of our palms, they change when we clap our hands in the kirtan of the Lord. So when the Lord's kirtan is going on, we naturally start clapping our hands. Then it is said the lines change. Just like if there's so many birds sitting, and when we clap our hand, the birds fly away by the sound of that clap. So by the sound of our clap in the kirtan of Krishna, all the birds or the sinful reactions represented by birds, they go away. So we have to have faith in these statements of the scriptures. Svabhava tantro hi jana, svabhava manuvartate, svabhava stamidam sarvam sadeva surmanusham. Every individual is under the control of his own conditioned nature, and thus he must follow that nature. This entire universe with all its demigods, demons, and human beings is based on the conditioned nature of the living entities. Lord Krishna here elaborates upon the arguments given in the previous verse. Since everything depends on Svabhava or one's conditioned nature, why bother worshipping God or the demigods? This argument should be sublime if Svabhava, conditioned nature, were all powerful. But unfortunately, it's not. There is a supreme controller, and we must worship him, as Lord Krishna will emphatically reveal in this chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. For now, however, he is content to tease his relatives. So basically, he's giving different arguments which might please different kinds of people. That's all. Dehanu chava chajantu prapyot srijati karmana shatrur mitram udasina karamev gururishvara. Because it is karma that causes the conditioned living entity to accept and then give up different high and low grade material bodies. This karma is his enemy, friend, and neutral witness, his spiritual master and controlling lord. Even the demigods are bound and limited by the laws of karma. The Indra himself is subordinate to the laws of karma, is explicitly stated in the Brahma Samhita. The Supreme Lord Govinda awards all creatures the appropriate results of their work. This is as true for mighty Indra, the Lord of the material heavens, as it is for the germ called Indragopa. It's the smallest germ in the universe. Bhagavad Gita also states, Kamastesta Hripya, only those who have lost the intelligence because of various material desires surrender unto demigods rather than worship the Supreme Lord. In fact, the demigods cannot award benefits to anyone independently, as stated by Lord Krishna in the Gita. All benefits are ultimately issued by the Lord himself. So, again, there's no need to worship the demigods. This is a point Krishna wants to make. Thus, it is not altogether incorrect to say that demigod worship is useless, since even the demigods are under the laws of karma. In fact, this is the case, but Lord Krishna, the Supreme Absolute Truth, is not subordinate to the laws of karma. Rather, he can independently offer or withhold his favor. This is confirmed in the words from Brahma Samhita quoted above. The Supreme Lord burns up all the accumulated karma of those engaged in his loving service. Not only is Lord Krishna above the laws of material action and reaction, but he can immediately dissolve these laws for anyone who satisfies him through loving service. Thus, the Almighty God is supreme in absolute freedom, and by surrendering to him, we can escape the bonds of karma and stop accepting the dismal rule as the supreme. Previously, in the purport, it is said, whatever is destined is going to happen. Everybody has their destiny according to whatever karmas they have performed. So if everything is destined, does it mean we have no independence anymore? If there is no independence, then what is the meaning of the scriptures or the injunctions in the scriptures when Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam raja, abandon all kinds of religion and just surrender unto me? Means there is an option, whether we surrender or not. When there is an option, means the destiny is not complete. It's not, everything is not destined. So many times people do say, oh no, everything is controlled. Whatever I'm doing is this is how it is supposed to be. No, as human beings, in human body, we have an independence. We can think, we can act, we can make choices. Animals don't have independence. Plants, insects, birds, fishes, they don't have independence. But we have. That's why the scripture says, do this, don't do this. Otherwise, what's the meaning of all this? If there is no independence, if there is no free will. So yes, destiny is there. Destiny, as it was explained to me by somebody, that Suppose I buy a ticket, airplane ticket from Washington to New Delhi, and I sit in my seat in the airplane. So I'm going to get to New Delhi until some terrorist hijack it or something happens. If everything is normal, I'll go from Washington to New Delhi. But what do I do on the way? Whether I just spend my time watching movies or sleeping, or I read something spiritual, or read something movie magazine or sports magazine or politics magazine, or I can drink some alcohol, I can eat meat, or I can get into fight with somebody in the plane. That's all up to me. Some people might say, oh no, this is all fixed. No, it's not fixed. We have been given an option to choose. And then accordingly, what I do, my further destination can change. Because of our agyat sukriti, of unknown pious activities that we performed in so many previous lifetimes, we've been given a chance to come in the association of devotees, to take on our devotional service. But still the independence is there, whether we take it up or not, or to what extent, to what seriousness we take it up. It's up to us. It's not this time that I'm going to become a devotee. If it is time, then why should I work hard? Why should I get up early in the morning or try to chant? And why should we attend these classes? Why read the scriptures? Everything is this time. So, and even Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, this karma is very hard to understand. We don't really know. Tasmat sampujayet karma svabhavastha swakarma krit anjasa yena varteta tadevasa idevatam. Therefore, one should seriously worship work itself. A person should remain in the position corresponding to his nature and should perform his own duty. Indeed, that by which we may live nicely is really our worshipable deity. Lord Krishna here proposes the modern, if absurd philosophy, that our work or occupation is really God, and that we should therefore simply worship our work. Some people follow that. Work is worship. Karma hi puja hai. Upon close scrutiny, we observe that our work is nothing more than the interaction of the material body with the material nature, as Lord Krishna himself states in a more serious mood in the Bhagavad Gita, Guna Gudeshu Vartanta. Karma Mimamsa philosophy accepts that good activity in this life will give us a better next life. If this is true, there must be some type of conscious soul different from the body. And if that is the case, why should a transcendental soul worship the interaction of the temporary body with material nature? If the word sampujeta karma here means that one should worship the laws of karma governing our activities, then one may astutely ask what it means to worship laws, and indeed what might be the origin of such laws, and who is maintaining them. To say that the laws have created or are maintaining the world is a meaningless proposition, since there is nothing about the nature of a law that indicates that it could generate the existential situation it is supposed to govern. In fact, worship is meant for Krishna himself, and this real conclusion will clearly be revealed in this chapter. So the laws, if there are laws of nature that, okay, I work and I'll get the result, if this is a law, then laws are not what is maintaining the world. Somebody who has made these laws, who has making us follow these laws. He is the one who's in charge. And also, when it says, whatever you do, you'll get the result, karam kiye ja, phal ki chinta mat kar insan, whatever, then give a crude example. In India, there are so many industrialists, big or small. There's so many. Why there is only one, Mukesh Ambani? Is he the most intelligent, most hardworking industrialist? There could be many more working very hard, more intelligent than him, but they are not making as much money. They're not as successful as Mukesh Ambani is. So what is that thing that he has and others don't? So it's not just the work. Something else is also there. Ajivya kataram bhavam yastvanyam upajivati na tasmad vindate khemam jaranarya sati yatha. If one thing is actually sustaining our life, but we take shelter of something else, how can we achieve any real benefit? We would be like an unfaithful woman who can never achieve any actual benefit by consorting with her paramour. The word kshema means actual prosperity, not merely the accumulation of money. Here, Lord Krishna boldly argues that just as a woman can never actually achieve actual dignity or enlightenment from an illicit lover, the residents of Vrindavan will never be happy by neglecting the real source of their prosperity and worshipping Indra instead. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the audacity that child Krishna displayed before his father and other elders should be understood as an exhibition of transcendental anger aroused when he saw his eternal devotees worshipping an insignificant demigod. Okay, for him he was insignificant. For us, he's a big guy, Indra. So we're not supposed to disrespect him, insult him. But Krishna is Krishna. Krishna is master of Indra. He can do anything. So he's saying what results we'll achieve by worshipping somebody else. And just like an unfaithful woman who has her lover and she leaves her husband. So very wonderful arguments given by Krishna. So anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, so we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.